Hello everyone and welcome back. My name is SL Gamer Guy and welcome to Chapter 2 of Buried. The Chapter 1 video may or may not have nice audio as Audacity crashed. If I can fix it, then this means absolutely nothing. However, yeah, it may or may not have really crappy audio through the webcam. So let's take and go to Chapter 2. Shall we? Respect the dead. Oh, cool! You and 36% of players left Tony's body where you found it. Secrets. You and 76% of players were upfront with Dennis about Tony's death. Trust. You and 55% told Dennis you believed his story. Curiosity. You and 25% of players ran away from the ringing sound. That's really cool. I really like games that do this. I think it was also Oxenfree was another one that it gave the percents at the end of who did what in the game and, you know, what sort of percentage. And I just think it's a really cool game mechanic for things like this. So let's take and begin Chapter 2. Ooh, big spooky industrial things. What is happening? We're standing on the thin platform of what looks like a fancy subway. The rails look well used, but not old. There are small overhead lights that are very dim, as if they are running on emergency power. The dim overhead lights are a blessing, but the size of the place makes me feel vulnerable. Staring ahead, the tunnel seems to be endless. It's almost dizzying. But there's a small light further ahead, and then a space that breaks the monotony of another platform. Maybe. Dennis, what do you think this is? Why are we in a subway tunnel? Let's ask Dennis what he thinks. What do you think about this, Dennis? Looks like we're waiting for the D train, Dennis says with a deadly sounding cackle. Also, the ringing noise is louder down here. It's much more solid now, and there's some other sound. Something like the faint hum of machinery. What's your take on this, boss? You think we're safe here? Dennis asks. Not at all. This is what I think to myself, but I don't want to let Dennis see that I'm rattled. While he seems to be limping along much better than when he first stumbled into this place, he's still in rough shape. I'm leading him here, and I should probably make him feel confident in that. Yeah, we'll be fine. You reassured Dennis. We're too far in to go back, I say. Besides, if we get caught for trespassing, I'm pretty sure we'd slide by. We're good. You're in pain, and we've got to find the rest of our crew. They could still be here somewhere. Dennis nods and looks reassured, albeit weak and miserable. From the looks of it, we can go either left or right. The left is slightly lit, the right not so much. This makes me uneasy because I get the sense that one wrong turn in this place, like this, would have us wandering for hours. Suddenly, I jerk my head to the right as I hear the unmistakable sound of someone walking. Did you hear something? I ask Dennis, my eyes straining to see anything in the darkness. Not sure. Maybe it kind of sounded like footsteps. I wait a moment, but the sound doesn't come again. So those are our options. To the left are flickering lights, indicating that we'll at least be able to see. There's also hum of machinery, a sign of life. To the right there's just darkness, but we also heard footsteps in that direction. I want to see what that machinery is. So let's then go to the left. The left is flickering lights and machinery. You decided to go into the lights. That's a very ominous way to put it, because you don't walk into the lights. Never walk into the lights. You just don't do it. Don't go into the light. Seems smart to stay in the middle of, to stay in the light. Left it is. Continue. Man, the art is really cool looking. Okay. As we head left, the lights ahead are like a beacon in the dark, luring us forward. Someone left the lights on for us, Dennis says, trying to be funny, but creeping me out instead. I wonder if that's a good or a bad thing, I say. As we near the lights, I hear the hum of machinery grow louder, but it doesn't sound like any machinery I've heard before. As the light increases, I use it to make an inventory of Dennis and his condition. While the bleeding seems to have stopped, the amount that is soaked into his pants and shirts is beyond alarming. How much further can you walk? Can you keep going? Yes, let's walk into the deep tunnel that has no business being here. Now fully stepping into the light, I notice that the sound of machinery is coming from an area on the left side that is protected by a guardrail. Wisps of bright blue light dance on the walls as they leak out from whatever is below. I also notice a posted sign that says, "Danger, severe radiation poisoning threat." I would rather not get radiation poisoning, so let's just stay back and move on. Dennis, I don't think we should get near whatever is down there, I say. Dennis studies the blue light a bit longer, then nods. He's hurting enough as it is. I don't think we need to add radiation poisoning to his list of ailments. Or mine, for that matter. We step away and take off down the tunnel again. As I start walking, I notice another structure coming into view up ahead. What's it gonna be? As we head further into the tunnel, we reach another platform. There's light coming from the platform, but like the overhead lights, they're dim red emergency lights. I start to wonder if the explosion at the logging site caused a power outage in this place. Whatever this place is. The ringing noise that I originally thought was in my head is getting louder. I'm starting to think it's some sort of alarm. When we come to the large open area ahead in the tunnel, it further resembles a subway station. As much as I tried to ignore the reality, it's undeniable. We've stumbled into some sort of high-tech transportation system that is buried beneath the forests of Kentucky. It makes absolutely no sense and creates an entirely new sort of fear as to what the heck we've walked into. I notice that Dennis seems confident, though. When we reach the large opening, we have to climb over the rails and up onto the platform. I have to help Dennis over the rails, and then up the small utility ladder that's bolted into the opposite side of the travelway. When he reaches the large open area resembling a subway waiting area, he collapses on the floor and lets out a heavy breath. "You know what?" Dennis says, exasperated. "This is ridiculous. I quit. I'm not going any further." On top of worrying about my crew and the madness of wherever we are, I'm not in the mood for Dennis to act like a baby. "Get up, pull it together, Dennis. It's okay, take it easy, you can do this." I'm trying to think of, like, I guess you could call it the psychology behind it, because Dennis is supposedly this big, strong, muscular wrestler type dude, but I feel like whenever you're weak and about dying on a subway station, you need more reassurance than, forceful commands. So let's take and go with, "It's okay, take it easy, you can do this." I'm not the one with a gash in my side, I think to myself, so I decide to cut him some slack. "Boss, I'm sorry," he says. "It's okay," I say. "I don't know how you're still on your feet, if I'm being honest." "Stubbornness," he says with a weak laugh. "You need a minute to rest?" I ask as warmly as I can muster. "No, if I sit down to rest, I'm afraid I might get back up. Let's keep going a while. I can still go." I reach down, help him to his feet. Then we get ourselves up onto the platform. Right in front of us, there's an entrance to a long hallway. exiting the platform area. It's at this point that I realize those red emergency lights might be on for someone else who is actually supposed to be here. Yet again, let's just stay quiet. I don't want to, alert everyone here. I'm still not sure if I want to alert anyone to the fact that there are strangers in this secret place. And the thought of hearing a scream, even my own scream, in this empty place is too much to bear. The emergency lights continue to flicker overhead, casting a sick, sort of pinkish light on everything. My mind is racing with what sort of place this might be. It's obvious that it's meant to be a secret. And if it is supposed to be a secret, and there was a power outage recently, maybe most everyone has been evacuated. This thought does nothing to make me feel any better as I walk towards the platform exit. We step inside and it seems just as empty as every other place we've come through, weakly illuminated by more overhead emergency lights. We're standing inside a hallway that looks surreal for a moment. Before we continue, just a little sip of water. I only drink the finest H2O on this channel. Let's take and continue now. Ooh, that's creepy. That's really creepy. The hallway reminds me of a hospital wing, but there's something not quite right about it. It's the first clean and tidy area I've seen since coming into the woods. It looks like it was recently in use, despite the dim emergency lights overhead. There are chairs against the walls, and the floor looks well cleaned, as do the walls. The ringing noise is definitely coming from here, and a small flashing red light, as long as the ceiling seems to flash along with it. That ringing noise is an alarm, I say, if only to confirm my own thoughts. But for what? Dennis asks. And then he asks the question that's been on my mind since we fell in that hole. What the heck is this place? We exchange a look that speaks volumes. We reach the end of the hallway and hear a sound like a large metallic grinding. This is followed by a clicking noise and then the unmistakable noise of a generator kicking on. Where are we? Full lights turned on, and that's like fancy. Without warning, the facility jolts to life. The red glow of emergency lights is suddenly replaced by bright white fluorescent ones. The mechanical hum is oddly comforting. Somehow the power being back on urges us on. It's then that I notice the ringing noise has stopped. So it had to be an alarm, but for what? Just the power failure? We head down the hallway, the electric hum of the lights sounding eerie overhead. Other than that, the place is dead quiet. The hall is about 100 feet long with two main doors. One door opens onto a large room that looks like a conference room with a whiteboard and papers strewn about. Across the hallway, another door looks like a laboratory of some sorts. Dennis slumps against the wall in defeat and lets out a scary-sounding chuckle. Something funny, I ask? As a dark and brooding panic starts to grip me. Dennis just keeps chuckling as he slides down to the floor. I'm just going to sit here while you look around, he says. There's a look in his eyes that reminds me far too much of a dead animal on the side of the road. The conference room... I don't think there would be anything in there, but in the lab, maybe there would be like a first aid kit, maybe? I want to keep Dennis alive. Ooh, that looks fancy. Centrifuge. So maybe there's like steroids in here or something. I don't know what you use a centrifuge for. Walking inside, I see small vials and glass containers held in a clear glass case. Everything is either glass or silver, and I instantly feel I am dirtying the place up. I notice several test tubes in glass cases, as well as some sort of tube system that seems to have a clear fluid trapped inside of it. In the back corner, I find a laptop in screensaver mode. I don't know if the test tubes there might be information on the laptop, though. I hit the enter key and a plain gray background pops up. There's several icons and folders to choose from. I click on a folder labeled Test 1.5 Ethos. A few documents are filled with formula names I mostly don't understand, but there's some things that are easy to understand, things that make my blood go cold. Subject 6. Cause of death. Embolism or aneurysm, or both. Ideas for new delivery mode. Spherical liquid. Question mark. Induce coma state first. TerraCore company equals possible plutonium supplier. Let's exit the lab because I feel like the test tubes might contain something dangerous in them. I take another look around the lab, trying to piece together what might have been taking place here. I smell some sort of chemical in the air, and it makes me think that someone has used this lab recently. Outside in the hallway, I hear Dennis grunting. Head out of the room to see him still seated on the floor. But I don't get very far because as I exit, a man comes rushing around the corner with an automatic rifle in his hands. Well, that escalated quickly. So, we're just over here looking for a first aid kit, and this guy comes bursting out, with a gun. Probably, I don't know. I'm assuming he's probably going to try and take shots at us, because we're not supposed to be here. Okay. It's hard to look beyond his rifle, but the man carrying it is young with messy dark hair. His skin is so pale that I wonder if maybe he lives down here. He has the look of a guy who's been cooped up for a little too long. He doesn't seem like the kind of person I'd trust with a gun in a stressful situation. As he sees us in the doorway, he screams and brings the gun up. It is aimed directly at my head. Put hands in the air. Don't try to attack a man with a gun. First thing, don't attack a man with a gun. I put my hands in the air, surprised at how natural it feels to go into this surrendered state. Maybe it's because this feels like a dream. Maybe it's because I feel like I'll snap awake if the maniac pulls the trigger. Who are you and how did you get here? The man asks harshly. Before we can answer, he continues speaking. I don't recognize you. If you're here, you would have had to sneak by the security mics in the entrance hall. What? I ask, unable to think of anything else to say. Who are you? The man asks. Did you do this? The man eyes us both, and I see something in his eyes that unsettles me. He's scared. But there's something else. We're just loggers. His eyes look distant for a minute, and then he says, bullcrap. But for some reason, I'm pretty sure he knows I'm telling the truth. Someone knocked the power out, the man says. It's back on now. But if it was out long enough, well, we're in a heap of trouble. Was it you who sent you? Look, we don't know what you're talking about, Dennis says. Something happened out in the woods. Are you alone? Are there others with you? The armed man asks, thrusting the gun in my face. How the heck did you get in this situation, I think to myself. If we hadn't fallen into that hole, we wouldn't be here. I'm not really sure if we want to be giving this guy information. We don't know anything about him. Then again, he might have answers. Well, the guy is scared because the power went out that something bad could have happened. We somehow managed to sneak past all the security systems. So, I feel like if we, trust this guy, he might be willing to help us, but maybe just, help us just get out of the facility, which I feel would probably be a good thing at this point in time. Well, right now, we're not looking for our guys. We're just trying to get out of this place. So, no, just us. The man looks me up and down, trying to tell if I'm lying. What happened before you came here? He asks. No clue, I say. I open my eyes on the ground and don't remember anything. Last thing I remember was fueling up my power saw, and then I was on my butt. We could hear the alarm from where we were. There was a flash of white light, Dennis adds. Like a bubble coming up out of the ground. But how'd you get in here, the man asks. I point to the hall towards the subway. We came in that way. The doors weren't locked. His expression calms a bit, but I'm still very aware of the gun that is leveled, less than a foot away from my face. Please put the gun down. You ask the man calmly to put his gun down. The only way I'm putting this rifle down is after I've blown your brains out, the man says. With that, he sticks the muzzle of the gun in my face. It's a childish move, a playground tactic at best. But it's insufficient to show me that he knows he's in control now. He then levels the rifle at Dennis, and I can only assume it's because his wounds make him appear to be the weaker of us. The man takes a shaky step forward. Dennis looks back and forth between the barrel of the gun and me, his eyes pleading for help. Step between Dennis and the gun. You stepped between the gun and Dennis. Before I'm fully aware of what I'm doing, I step out in front of Dennis. The barrel of the rifle is nearly touching my chest now. Both Dennis and the man seem a little confused at my action, and I do the best to swallow down my fear. I don't know what's going on here, I say. But we are here by mistake. Well, you have no business here, the man says. But now that the power is on, I think you might be too late anyways. For what? I ask. But he doesn't answer me. Instead, he steps forward and actually pushes me backwards with the end of the rifle. The man then repeats a question he asked before, one that makes no sense, and honestly, makes me think he might be a little crazy. Who sent you? He asks. Are you from the Pentagon? I'm not quite sure how to take this question. Is this guy joking? No, what are you talking about? No, I say, we're just loggers. Something blew up and my friend got hurt. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Likely story, the man says, but I see a flicker of recognition in his face that makes him think he might believe me. Still, his grip on the gun is as tight as ever. The look on his face makes me think he'll shoot at any moment. You both just stand still, he says. Sooner or later, someone will come along and I'll turn you over. He again thrusts the gun forward as if it has an invisible bayonet on it. There's no need for that, I tell him. I have no guarantee that he won't pull the trigger. Look, we don't want any trouble. We're just as confused as you are. Then in a movement so fast, I just about miss it, Dennis lunges forward. I have no idea how he's moving so fast. Just 30 seconds ago, I was worried about how close to death he looked. But he's now moving lightning fast, his left arm coming down on the barrel of the gun like a club. In the commotion, the man does pull the trigger. The booming noise is deafening, and there's a moment where I think I've been hit. It takes the clanging noise of the round tearing into the floor at my feet to help me realize that I have not been shot. I look to the floor and see the shot missed my right leg by less than 3 inches. I'm paralyzed, in shock for a moment as Dennis and the man fight over possession of the rifle. There's a fire extinguisher on the wall I could use as a bludgeon, but I might not have enough time to grab it before Dennis is overpowered. Just punch him. Start wailing on him. Dennis has the man pinned to the floor, but isn't strong enough to keep him down. As I fall to the floor to help him, the barrel of the rifle swings right in front of my face, a reminder of how close I've come to being shot. On my knees now, I believe I deliver a hard, stiff punch to the man's face. I don't punch someone often. Never. Really, I'm not usually the brawling type. Still, it's apparently effective. The man's head snaps back hard and his grip on the gun loosens. Dennis grabs the gun, falls to the floor, clearly winded and in pain. Our attacker is immobilized and I can feel a shift in the situation. Yet although he's basically harmless now, I feel the need to pummel him. A desire that builds with each second I look at him. No. You've done your work. It's enough. Just don't die. He's definitely out now. No threat. Or at least I think that's what I think. But he surprises me by mustering up one last swift kick in my direction, connecting with my forehead. My lid swells to the size of a grape almost immediately. It seems like this last attack is more to spite me than to defend himself. I stumble back and ready myself for another round of blows, but he just slouches into the floor. He's done. Dennis instantly hands the rifle over to me, and I take it with shaking hands. I can't believe you stepped between me and that gun, Dennis says. He could have killed you. I was pretty sure he wouldn't, I say. although I had known no such thing. Still, thanks, man. That was some heroic stuff. You would have done the same for me, right? Dennis says nothing. His eyes look to the floor. What do we do now, boss? Dennis asks. We've come this far and I want answers. I sense that Dennis does too. I take a hard look at the man before I reply. We get answers from this guy. No answers, the man says. I don't have any. Next time I won't just hit you, I say, plunging the rifle towards him. Now get up. He obeys quickly, but his legs are wobbly, and he leans against the wall for support. I can feel my swollen eyelid from where he kicked me earlier. I just hope it doesn't get so bad that it affects my sight. Okay, let's move, I say, pointing the gun further down the hallway. We've come this far and I'm not going to let this guy stop us. We walk down the hallway until we come to the end. A single elevator waits for us. Its steel sliding doors larger than a normal elevator. I'm not used to this much talking. Okay, continue. What is next? That's ominous. Very ominous. Before I get into the elevator with this guy, I think it's wise to learn a bit more about him. I can tell it's making him uncomfortable for me to have the gun. What's your name, I ask. Marcus. And you work here? It's clear that he doesn't want to answer, but he gives me a little nod. We're looking for the rest of our crew. Any idea where they might be? I ask. No, he says curtly, not bothering to elaborate. There's got to be some useful info we can get out of this guy. I just need to know how to dig for it. I need a first aid kit for my friend here, I say. Where might I find one? Down on the second floor, he says, but we can't go down there. What's on level 2? He looks at me like I'm an idiot. You must be aware you're inside a classified government facility, he says. It makes sense, but I want to doubt it. Well, I'm sure our government would want you to help save my friend. So, take me to the first aid kit. I can't, he says. You don't have clearance. Heck, I barely have clearance. Then, seemingly to himself, he mutters, I make this place run. And not even a thank you. Just a bunch of restricted access rooms that I'm only allowed to go in with a friggin' chaperone. I interrupt, but his monologue. Gosh, you'd think I wouldn't have passed 5th grade. His monologue. We're going to that first aid kit. I could lose my job, he says. I wonder for a moment what sort of trouble I could get in for hitting a government employee. This makes me glad I took it easy on him. Then again, he had come at us with a rifle. It makes me think that things have gone terribly wrong in this place. And the explosion in the woods, or whatever the heck had happened, might be linked to it all. I need to convince him to take us up to the 2nd floor, but I'm not sure if it would be more productive to threaten him or ask for sympathy. Let's just take and ask him. I feel like threatening him isn't gonna do much good. Look, it hasn't been the best day. We're just trying to find out what's going on and to find our crew to survive. I know that this isn't a normal situation down here. It looks like all your protocols have been blown to heck. Can't you just help us out? He looks at me sternly, weighing his options. Okay, he says. Thank you, I say. With an untrusting stare, Marcus walks to the elevator door, approaching a small keypad by the doors. He punches in a numerical code on the keypad, and we can hear a slight mechanical hum behind the steel doors. After a few seconds of angry glances and frightened sneers from Marcus, the elevator arrives. The steel doors slide open with a whisper, revealing the interior. What will happen next? Will we find the first aid kit? Probably. It's exceptionally well lit and looks to be made of stainless steel. I half expected the thing to take off at the speed of light. There's another small keypad on the front right panel of the door. with the options of 3 sub-level floors. Looks like this elevator doesn't go to the surface. So after we get a first aid kit for Dennis, how do we get out of here? I ask. We can't leave, Marcus says. Once the power came back on, the whole place was put on lockdown. What? Can't you override it? No, it's to prevent anything from getting out. I can't. Marcus looks as deflated as Dennis. We can't get out. We're stuck here. Dennis leans into the corner and almost falls onto the floor. The struggle for the rifle took a lot out of him. I can see that much in his face. Slowly we start to move again. The hum and the grind of the car's motors fill the space. So are we stuck here forever, or is it like 5-minute coffee break? Marcus scowls at me. I think it's a fair question. It doesn't seem unreasonable to assume he won't be able to get us out. We'll find somebody with the access codes, and they'll be begging me to figure out how to lift the lockdown. These people think they're so brilliant, but some of them can barely turn their computers on without help. The top coder in my class at MIT, and I'm stuck living underground helping idiots who don't even trust me with keys. What goes on here? Marcus shakes his head. You may as well shoot me, I can't tell you. Why not? It's beyond classified and things I know don't even cover the start of it. What does that mean? I ask, starting to get irritated. It means that even if I wanted to tell you what sort of work is done here, I don't know enough about it. How big is this place? It's a government facility of the highest secrecy, Marcus says. A research facility. It goes 4 stories underground, and quite frankly, it scares the crap out of me that you two got in here so easily. Why is that, I ask. This is a Black Ops graveyard, he replies. Even the CIA doesn't know this place exists. What knocked the lights out? Seems like some sort of power outage, Marcus says. That's all I know. There was an outage and then... Then what? Dennis asks weakly. Then things got weird. Things got bad. Bad how? I ask. The whole place seemed to shake when the lights went on. I was checking the monitors when it happened, and everything went dead. It took no more than a minute or so before I started hearing the screams. People were being killed by something. I tried getting the security cameras going again, but they only lasted for a little bit on my backup systems. But what I saw... What? I ask, feeling a sharp fear worm its way into my guts. Well, what I saw on the screens for that little bit of time made no sense. It made me get the gun from the emergency vault. I think whatever it is, it's still down here. Hold on, I say. There's an emergency vault with a rifle in the same room as the security cameras in this place. Marcus gives me a grin that looks nearly insane. There are guns locked away in every room in this place, just in case, you know? Just in case of what? As he opens his mouth to answer, the elevator comes to a stop and the doors slide open. Marcus is out right away without a word. He makes his exit and heads directly for a glassed-in room that is filled with computer monitors and high-end equipment. Dennis and I file out behind him, trying to keep up. As we do, one very alarming question runs through my head. What the heck kind of government facility keeps loaded guns and emergency vaults in every single room? End of Chapter 2. So, recap. What has occurred? Okay, so Dennis is still dying. We have a rifle. Marcus, I guess, is a low-paid IT guy for a government agency that nobody trusts him enough. Okay, I guess... well, I guess I'm gonna end it here. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you have enjoyed this episode and would like to see more of it, please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, follow me on social media. Links will be in the description as always, and I will see you in the next video. Stay awesome.